Hi, and welcome everybody to our 2022 product summary. We want to present some highlights of our product development because we've been quite busy, and who knows better how busy we've been in product than Siamak, who's joining me.
Hi, Tobias.
Glad we found the time. Let's start right away. This is a new format that we're trying. And obviously, it should not always be a yearly review, but we want to do quarterly reviews, right?
That's correct. So we plan to do the quarterly reviews, and once per year, beginning of the year, we want to recap the last year.
Brilliant. And there's also some other resources that we highly recommend. First of all, it's our release notes, and with it, also deprecation notes. And the second one is our newsletters. Last year, we sent out 50 newsletters where we digest the release notes.
That's true.
So let's jump in our first big topic. It's part of creatives. It's the product data feed. And Siamak, we had product data feed before, obviously. So why did we invest such an effort into product data feed?
Yeah. First of all, the Ingenious system has a two-side problem with data feeds. It imports from the advertiser, and partners want to download on, and we call it export, but the partner calls it download. So that's why it's important that it's running stable and it's running performant. Product data itself in 2022 has a big increase, means product comparison sites, and even the product itself as a creative became even more important compared to banners or something like that. We also saw that some advertisers start to aggregate feeds from other advertisers, so feeds become big, and that was the reason why our system in parts need to be improved, need to be rewritten, which is a normal thing in software industry, that after some years you have to rewrite certain parts which do not scale anymore. So this is what we did. First of all, focusing on the partner side, because that's where the value is generated. We stabilized the partner download, but we did more than that. We switched to compressed feeds. That was somehow controversial, because the question is why, and why can't we continue what we did before? The reason is, product data can be compressed very, very well, and that also increases the speed, that reduces the bandwidth, and that also reduces the bill on the cloud or infrastructure for everyone. So that's why we switched to compressed. We also implemented some rate limiting, means certain partners who load a lot cannot influence other partners. They are now more contained, that they do not overwhelm the system. And one of the important things is also we introduced caching, which means if the feed did not change, if there is no product in the feed which changes, the partner do not need to download the feed. That's something which happened.
This is, may I interrupt? This is significant because in the industry, I've seen so many partners like literally downloading the feed like every 10 seconds or every minute, whatever, just to make sure they don't miss an update. And this is like the most inefficient thing you can do, right? Downloading whatever, how many megabytes of feed just to see if one product changed.
That's true. That's true. So the problem is partners do not want to do this. They have to do this because they need the new prices. So the question is how to do the brute force way or intelligent way. We now have an intelligent way for partners who work with the typical HTTP header. So there is a normal way to do that, and we also help partners to implement this if they do not how to do this. And so it is a big success, because not even the load decreased, but also partners get the product data faster, which is important for the advertiser and the partner. To be honest, it's not only.
I can imagine.
Yeah. Yes, and for the import, the second part, I'm sorry, for the import, we did one very big improvement, is that we allowed our advertisers to even decrease the frequency. So we now load from the advertiser side also the feeds very fast and very frequently, which also helps everyone in the chain. Yes.
Very good. So we spend a lot of time in making this whole thing faster and more stable and a bit more modern.
True.
To sum it up, So no more new functions, but just more stable, which has a value, believe me. Also, we were working on something internally. We called it unified conversions, which is, if you explain it to anybody, like probably the most stupid term ever and most non-understandable term. However, if you think of conversions, let me quickly explain it to the audience. First thing is tracking. Like, it collects all the data. It does the attribution, double checking. Is there a cookie? Who was first? Who was last click? Blah, 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 all of this. And that produces already data. And then you have the financial processes going like, oh, now I have a partner. I have a commission model. I have conditions. I have something. So I give this thing a number, a commission, a value. And this is the second process. And both processes produce data. And in the past, we actually had two databases where, you could access data set number 1 or data set number 2, which is a bit stupid because as an online marketer, you want to see the results. You want to see attribution results plus costs all in once. And basically, I think this is what we've done. However, what needed to happen to make this possible?
Yeah, first of all, nice explanation. Everything is correct. I tried to explain it to myself with like the end-to-end visibility or traceability, like from the first click or ad impression back to a conversion, which is paid out to the partner, like the full billing cycle of the conversion is done, and the whole life cycle, the whole journey, everything is now available in one model, which is for me, not as a software engineer, but also looking into the marketeer landscape, it allows certain perspectives on combining revenue and commissions with journeys and finding undervalued partners or other aspects. This is an example which we had from the last year from one of our customers, and it allows for a lot of visibility in this. Why we didn't had that combined in the past is also easy because we have a high efficient system for tracking. We have millions and billions of tracking events, and it was easier to separate them before. But in the data layer, we now combine them, and we get people get great value. Access to this currently is through our data warehouse product, BigQuery means some of our customers already start using this, jumped on the technology to get out the data in the format they want, very accurate and very on time. And that is what happened to 22. The motivation was driven by value, being able to analyze journeys down to billing, down to commissions, and making more out of it for better business and better valuation of partners, basically.
I have to say again, this is so cool. So first thing, I started working with BigQuery ever since we have this. Mm-hmm. And every conversion now has a conversion model, and you can find it in our documentation. And the thing is, you already mentioned it, a conversion is not only a sale. It's a data set that has all dimensions of a sale that's needed. So it has all parameters, all information that was needed for attribution. So it means a whole full user journey or a customer journey with I don't know how many external touch points and attribution rules and everything. And it may have something like basket position. So that is a data set. Then it has a history of confirmation, like who validated it when, blah, blah, blah. Was it reopened? What happened? Was order value changed? Things like this. And then it has another history, which is the billing history. Like, was it billed to the advertiser? Was it paid out to the partner? What was the status? Etc., etc., etc. So a conversion or a sale is not just a sale. It is many tables within one. Mm-hmm. And that's just incredible, because if you have one conversion, you have not only one history of the conversion, but many histories.
Yeah. It's an entry to the new world. When starting from one conversion, you can try to find out the reason why it was created and how it was processed later, beginning with the conversion. Yeah, in many different areas. Yeah.
Brilliant. And everybody who has not access to BigQuery yet, I can really recommend it. It's really nice to see what you can get out of this kind of data.
True.
With this, I think there was one thing that came along with it, kind of a side effect, right? In the conversion overview, now we have new filters. Like formerly under finance conversions, you would check like, oh, who's the partner who has how many conversions, or you just double check your conversion and worked for validation. However, there's many use cases, and we had actually people contacting us in support saying, oh, how can I see, I have, I don't know, 100 advertisers and one has a currency exchange rate, and I only want to see the conversions where there's a currency exchange rate applied. How can I filter them? Or I want to see where a discount was applied. So, where a voucher was used and the discount was applied, and hence the order value was reduced, and hence the commission was corrected. Things like this. Or the other day I had somebody asking for like, oh, is auto validation, is it active? And sometimes it's not a yes and no. Sometimes for one advertiser, for one product, auto validation is active, and for another one not, because our system is really granular at this point. And there's like a new filter that allows you to filter all the conversions that may have an exception, etc., etc. So this is really cool. It's a small update, hardly remarked by anyone, but if you are sitting in front of your screen and you need to have access to certain data, you really love it.
Nothing to add from my side. Just can say from the engineering perspective, it was a low-hanging fruit while we were touching the conversion, as we explained before. As you said, when we touch it, we try to remind ourselves what we always wanted to do, and then we have areas where we touch and we try to increase the value for people, especially when you work daily with it and you need to slice and dice your data, slice and dice the conversions by time and other aspects. There were some aspects missing, and we needed to do this actually. Yeah.
Very nice, very nice. So let's jump to the next topic. It's still conversion related. It's billing data in conversions and BigQuery. Explain.
Okay, so we discussed before that we had journey data, like tracking data, journeys, and also the finance data, commissioning, billing combined. But the billing part needs to be explained, I think, a little bit more, because the idea is the Ingenious model allows for very complex situations like e-commerce baskets, you call them, but also multi-touch attribution. For example, this can be decided on advertiser level to attribute not only one partner, then you can have many partners and make a commission sharing, like spread the commission amongst partners. And this also needed to be reflected into the conversion model, which is available through BigQuery, to be really on granular level and be able to answer if a partner still needs to be paid out, which is a different status than the commission was confirmed. The advertiser approved it and everything is there, but not paid out. And a conversion, and this is something to understand, could be sitting there for months because one partner did not achieve their payout threshold. And this might be 6 months ago where this conversion was created. And that's the complexity of it. What we achieved looking from it, not from the engineering perspective, but from the user perspective, is that you can rely on billing information. You can analyze now, like the money you still owe people compared to the money you paid out, compared to the money you might owe people in future. You can do all of that. Also, prediction-wise, you can do that with the same data model, which is important, I think, for the later part of the partner marketing and affiliate marketing, where you need to pay out money to people.
Absolutely. So we talked about conversions. We talked about some finance stuff. Let's talk about Trail. We had quite a few releases in the tracking engine. And I just want to mention some that have a high impact, and maybe maybe allow me to say one or two words about the impact. So the first one is, in the conversions, I can transmit a timestamp and date them back to the past. So sometimes we have people transmitting conversions not in real time in the browser, like, with a tracking tag that we had, but maybe they transmit conversions at the end of the day, in the evening or something, because they were collecting them throughout the day, and once per day they send them. So you don't want to have your full performance at midnight. You want to have the real time. So now you can transmit a timestamp, and this timestamp will be the time of the conversion, so it can be dated back to the past. The second one is we're allowing to transmit the Ingenious click ID, the ICL ID, on ad impressions. So why would you have some sort of ID on ad impressions? And the answer is quite simple. If you have server-side conversion tracking, you do not have third-party cookies anymore. So if you want to work with post view, what do? And the answer is quite simple. You can transmit for each ad impression the ID of this ad impression to the server, who then later on transmits the conversion, and it can include these IDs in the conversion, so it also allows post-view tracking. So actually, it's two features. Allowing rating, so knowing that this ID belongs to an ad impression and should have a lower weight than a click. And the second one is transmitting click IDs on ad impressions. The next one is we now can exclude additional parameters from click redirects. So to explain this, we have an additional parameter tool that automatically on bounce links adds parameters to the target URL. However, sometimes you want to transmit or have the target URL without parameters. And now there's a way to do this by excluding these parameters with a parameter. Makes sense, right? Excluding parameters with the help of a parameter. And the last one is the traffic redirection policy. It's only applied per default on tracking deep links, and it only allows to link to the shop domain. So we had publishers, for whatever reason, forwarding traffic to porn sites, etc., like basically to domains that are not the shop of the advertiser. And now we're preventing this. There's a standard setting for all new advertisers, which is automatically applied.
Yeah, maybe an addition from my side to the last point. It's not only the shop side. Advertisers can also enable more URLs if they see fit. So basically, per default, the advertiser side is available and redirectable, but you can add more. Some people, for example, use other sites to deliver their images, and they can put that into the list too. Okay.
Yeah, good point. Whitelist is allowed.
Yeah.
The next one is it's also something about insights, but it has to do with trail. Our sub-IDs are called SMC1 to 6. And for SMC1, there was always a report. However, this report only reported the number of conversions and never reported the number of clicks. And the reason was quite simple. Sometimes partners transmit unique values like click IDs. And if you have a partner transmitting, 1 million clicks per month with 1 million click IDs, having a sub ID report with 1 million rows, like, 1 click ID per row, just wouldn't make sense. So we've solved this issue. There's now an automatic detection of click IDs. And so now we have clicks in sub-ID reports, and this is a question that's been asked by partners for ages.
Yeah.
So we have this.
Addition here. Currently, this feature is opt-in. You have to reach out to your manager. The reason is that before we start enabling it, we go with the customer to their partner landscape and see if there are partners who behave like you described, and then we can figure it out. Maybe communication, and then we have a controlled statement, controlled setup. So yeah, you can reach out. For every new customer, we already start with this, but customers who have huge networks, we work with them to separate those partners who could behave differently, use slightly a different parameter, and then things also work. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. So now it's a smaller one, but also a nice one. Integrations. We have a WooCommerce plugin now.
Yeah, that's true. So WooCommerce as part of WordPress, so WooCommerce itself, for people who don't know, is an e-commerce plug-in to WordPress. So when you have a shop based on WordPress, you can install WooCommerce, which brings you all of these features of shop orders, and products and stuff like that. And what we did is we added to the marketplace, to the WordPress marketplace, a WooCommerce compatible tracking plugin, which basically integrates itself for page impressions, but especially for conversions. And it has all the nitty-gritty details of firing conversions against the Ingenious tracking with baskets and collects click IDs. And so it's basically a one-click solution to add Ingenious tracking to your WooCommerce site for a basic setup. And the moment you want to get more complicated, it's possible. But this one is really a single-click solution to add tracking to your WooCommerce site. Yeah.
Nice. And it works with quite a good tracking quality because it saves the click ID, the ICL ID, which I hear sometimes is a pain for people integrating tracking, like, receiving an ID, saving it, passing it back.
Yeah, that's true.
So quite nice.
Yeah. Another thing on this WooCommerce plugin, it also uses internally a very nice solution, because every tracking runs on the shop domain of the advertiser. So when you have WooCommerce and it's running on your site, tracking is not run third party. It integrates so deeply back server side with WordPress that tracking is implemented on the same domain. So here you have also first party.
Nice. We have another integration with Funnel.io. So what is new about this?
Yeah, Funnel.io is a different company, first of all, and it's known to the solution of Funnel.io is to combine marketing data sources and combine, also unify the data and be able to export the data out again to spreadsheet and Google Analytics and Tableau and other stuff. And it's focusing especially on marketing costs and marketing performance, like clicks, views, and stuff like conversions. And Ingenious is now an official data source for Funnel.io. So Ingenious is seen in this integration as the source of costs and the source of clicks and conversions. And the setup is very nice. You just need an API key from your Ingenious system, which every user has. Depending on the user rights, you see one or many advertisers. You simply drop that API key in the setup process in Funnel.io, and then they walk you through a setup. It takes 30 seconds, and then you start receiving Ingenious data in Funnel.io. And we have a lot of customers jumping on that train, because it turned out that at the same time, Funnel.io and Ingenious had the same customers. Surprise, surprise. Marketing landscape is not that big. So no, that's a great thing. You can reach out to us, but it's nothing we have to enable. You just go to Funnel.io. If you have an Ingenious account, you just can start using it. Even as an advertiser, it's not limited to platform owners. If you are an advertiser within an Ingenious platform, you can start using the Funnel.io integration.
Yeah. If you don't know Funnel.io yet, it really is a nice tool and a good company, nice people.
Yes.
So we're getting to our last big topic. It's called Side GTM, and we have to put it in simple words. And I'm a bit stumbling putting it into simple words, because I remember I recorded one whole podcast episode, and we still couldn't explain every single bit. But again, server-side GTM in terms of tracking quality discussions and issues is one of the nicest and best solutions that are out there in the market. So, Siamak, what is it about server-side GTM, what Ingenious is doing?
Yeah. So I explained myself server-side GTM as run your own GTM on your website. You have to host it, but then it's first party, so everything runs on your domain. There is no Google involved, but the tools, the GTM user interface and tagging and stuff like that, everything is familiar. The second thing which I explain is run less in the browser and more on the server, which means you still have browser interaction, but you have one event, but you can have on server side sending that event to many people. That's a basic idea of it. What we recognized is that especially the hosting part might become difficult for people who are not very familiar with technology, do not have enough experience with operating, like running software and monitoring software and running it reliably. Turns out Ingenious is a company which can run software reliably for a decade. And so we decided to close that gap for advertisers, for shops to have a hosting solution. So when you want to reduce it to the value to the shop is you can host now server-side GTM hosted by Ingenious. You can run it on the domain of your shop, and then you can start using the server-side functionality. Ingenious itself runs the same infrastructure we run for our core product, the Ingenious platform, we use for running server-side GTM. So you can rely on us on operational experience and also monitoring. And so we take care of this. Basically, it's just 5 minutes setup. We just need the GTM ID, and then you can start using it. The bigger problem, or let's say not a problem, but the bigger task is how to migrate your tasks from web to server. This is nothing which happens automatically. You need to have a tracking concept. You need to think about what your data model is. But this is something where you can rely on resources in the internet. Server-side GTM is a rising technology. And when you know GTM, you know a lot of server-side GTM, but not everything. But it is something you can learn. I would say thinking now about it and getting in touch with the people for learning. There is a lot of learning material, brings you ahead of the curve. When you start now thinking about it, if you are a new shop, I would always now go with server-side GTM. If you don't have a legacy tech setup and triggers and stuff like that, I would simply start with server-side GTM. If you have the problem of hosting, you can reach out to us. And that's basically our offering to reduce the friction with running server-side GTM.
Brilliant. Yeah. Also, I really like it a lot. It combines first party and server side. It's plus the tag management of GTM that everybody's used to anyways. Very nice.
True.
Very nice.
True.
So we talked a lot about 2022. What can we already tell about 2023?
2023. So 2023 is in some parts a continuation of 22, because as always with every company, we set goals for 22, targets, and we try to work on those, and some of them did not make it because you have some disturbance, you have estimations and stuff like that. So one big topic which also find its way to 2023 is access to data. So BigQuery, we always talk about it. BigQuery is nice, but BigQuery is a technical access to data. So you need to understand what BigQuery is. You need an engineer to access that data. If you have that, great. If you don't, you somehow need to get that knowledge, or you need another way. And the other way is to have a no-code, low-code, or non-technical access to the data. This is something we want to give to 2023. As we discussed, the conversion and all of its beauty, we want to bring out more reports, more visualization into the platform so people without any technical knowledge can try to analyze. This is something ongoing, which will take us the whole year. It's nothing which arrives in Q1. Focusing on Q1, which is where we have more like stability of what people can expect. The first thing is, as Ingenious, we see a lot of the ecospace. So we have customers who are networks, who have big networks. We also have advertisers having private networks, but we also have portals who integrate advertisers directly to do CPO business and stuff like that. So we see some good portion of the ecosystem. And we still see, and everyone would agree that, for example, the first party tracking and the technology, which is available for 5 years and more, 6 years more, is still not adapted. What we try to do as Ingenious to also help the community to achieve the goal for better tracking quality is to automate now the first party setup, which means up to now, first party setup was something manual and rare. So you have to call us and say, hey, I have a shop, or I am a shop. I want to do first party tracking. And then we set up that subdomain solution, stuff like that. We want to reverse all of that. We want to automate it. We want the process to run without us. Means Ingenious will become some kind of like domain registrar. You register a domain, you set up your DNS records, the system helps you, and then we manage all of this certificate validation and revalidation fully automatically. We think that this lowers the barrier, the entry barrier for certain advertisers and certain customer types to try out first-party tracking, because it's not so complicated as people think. There is one thing you need to do. You need to set a DNS entry. That's all. And then you start having higher tracking quality. That's a big thing we want to release in this first quarter, which took us a lot of time. We have thousands of domains now in our platform, and we need to manage them. Second thing is, I mentioned in the beginning validation of conversions, and for this we also need to improve further. For example, we need to also have the basket validation and validation with multi-touch attribution and other aspects also adapted in the platform well, because we have customers who are relying a lot of this. We now have a focus on simple conversions and continue in this quarter to focus on the more detailed or complex cases of conversion and conversion validation. It is already possible, but we think we can improve it significantly. Yeah. And the last one is migration. So Ingenious had a very successful 2022 with a lot of migration, and we want to continue that in 2023. Means we want to focus on partner migration. We have a lot of people, privates also, where partners need to be migrated. And we invest time in partner API, creating, updating partners, improving that. But also we want to have an importer, which where you can just export whatever format the other system has, you use, and import the partners to have a seamless migration. Migration is hard enough, and we think as a software company, we could help with the migration. Throughout the year, we will also try to come up with standard importers for the big systems. In the affiliate and partner marketing industry, we try to come up with importers where we know the format of the other system, and we are able to import the partners automatically, which just helps to migrate, because we want more migration, as you can imagine.
I can imagine. Absolutely. Siamak, thanks so much for all the insights and explanations.
Actually, it was fun.
And I really hope that we will have many more reviews like this and many more new cool releases like we had last year.
Yeah. So I would encourage people to give us feedback on the new format. If you want, we listen to every review or comment. So tell us what you think. Do you want to see more, less? And we are open, because this is a flexible format. Nothing is fixed. And we just want to please you and give you the right information at the right time. So yeah, was it fun, Tobias? Thank you.
Thank you. So I would say, if you liked it, please leave a like in your favorite podcast app, but that's a whole other story.
Thank you.
Thanks, Siamak.
Bye bye.
Bye, everybody.